Welcome to Together We Rise. I'm Beverly Riddick. I'm the Chief Operations Officer of URI, Urban Resource Institute, and I will be serving as your Mistress of Ceremonies today. We trust that in our time together, you will hear and take away experiences from URI's innovative approach to transitional and supportive housing development. This week, as we recognize Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, we are reminded of the thousands of families with children in New York City who are experiencing housing insecurity on a daily basis. Today, we will examine how nonprofit service providers, many of you in the room, can interrupt that cycle by leveraging resources and partnerships that result in expanded affordability and opportunity for these families. So let's take it away. I would like to introduce Nat Fields, URI CEO. Nathaniel Fields serves as the Chief Executive Officer of Urban Resource Institute, URI, a pivotal organization at the forefront of addressing domestic violence and housing insecurities. Under his strategic leadership, URI has expanded its services, introducing innovative programs like People and Animals Living Safely, or PALS, that exemplify comprehensive care within the social services sector. As the largest provider of domestic violence shelter services in the nation and a leading advocate for homeless families, URI supports 3,800 individuals nightly across its 24 New York City shelters, assisting around 40,000 people annually. NAT's influence extends beyond URI to civic and advisory boards, advocating for systemic changes that uplift the most vulnerable. His leadership is marked by a commitment to fostering hope, excellence, and transformative change, pushing the boundaries of social innovation and community empowerment. Nat.
Let me just get mic'd up here. Beverly, thank you so much. Can you all hear me? Thank you so much. I'm Nat Fields. I have the pleasure of being the CEO for Urban Resource Institute, URI. Uh, First, I want to thank my early morning risers for making our 8:30 Together We Rise event. You can give yourself a round of applause. For those of you, unlike myself, who detest mornings, there's lots of coffee. There's lots of coffee, so we'll keep you fueled so you can continue to lean in. Beverly talked about, read my bio, and I want to say just right from the beginning, many of you are seasoned managers, and you know none of the work that was just talked about happens without your staff. So I want to thank our dedicated team members who do amazing work each and every day, as well as our board of trustees. And please give them a big round of applause. So we talked a little bit about at URI, as many of you know, we're working to end domestic violence and homelessness. In order to achieve the latter, we have been intentional in putting the client and the community at the center of the work. And we map our ecosystem because it's in mapping our ecosystem, we want to identify those key stakeholders who will play a vital role. This is why we're holding the event today. Many of you look around at each other. We want you to get to know each other. Many of you are key stakeholders and will play a vital role in ending domestic violence and homelessness by working together to address the continuum of housing needs, from emergency shelter and other transitional housing to permanent affordable housing, and in some cases, supportive housing. So the why. What's the why? Why are we here? I think we were just talking about the New York Times article, and I was joking with my friends at DHS. They must read a lot of periodicals these days. More seriously, in the Times and what we've been talking about in New York City, we have approximately a 1.7% vacancy rate as it relates to apartments. So as a city, we need to continue to have the right balance of temporary housing, in some cases shelter, while we address the crisis of a lack of permanent housing, and again, particularly permanent affordable housing. More so, we need to continue to address the factors that drive homelessness. And we're going to talk a little bit about one of those factors, such as domestic violence. I'm going to pause a little because we're just also talking about this room. And while we're talking about big things, it is a beautiful room. So if my voice ever gets long, feel free to look outside, get some fresh air, take care of yourself, and then return back to me. So let me get back into it. Domestic violence is one of those drivers to homelessness. The New York City Domestic Violence Hotline answers about 90,000 calls on a given year. Our NYPD, they answer and sometimes files about 250,000 domestic violence incident reports. I sat on the New York City Domestic Violence Fatality Review Committee. Our report for 2023 showed that domestic violence homicides increased by about 29.2%. I should say intimate partner homicides increased about 29.2%, while other major crimes in New York City dropped. So when a victim of domestic violence is ready and in need of a safe shelter bed, we need to have one. Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes, and I don't want to be overly dramatic, but the stats bear it out, sometimes it's a matter of life and death, right? It's a matter of life and death. As the largest provider of domestic violence shelter services and a leading provider of homeless services in the United States and right here in New York City, URI plays a crucial role in using its experience and our voice to influence communities to appropriately address the needs of those experiencing DV and housing insecurity. To this end, URI was one of the first providers to work with New York City Department of Homeless Services, DHS, to develop nonprofit-owned shelters. I've been fortunate to see the evolution of our shelter system, and our key partners at DHS very courageous to start to be more intentional and have resources to build nonprofit-owned shelters. And so we're very happy about that. This couldn't have happened because when you think about what it takes, we knew we had some challenges in terms of how do we have pre-acquisition dollars. And I want to thank our partners in government and Sea Change for really creating the Shelter Acquisition Fund. John McIntosh, you're here just to recognize Sea Change and John McIntosh. Where are you, John? Oh, I was gonna say he's never shy, so I'm surprised at a challenge finding him. Today at URI, we manage and or own 24 shelters in both our DHS and HRA shelter systems across 4 boroughs, providing a safe haven for about 3,800 individuals on any given night. When we look towards the future, we know that URI's work is driven by a strategic, and in this environment, a strategic living plan, aligning with community needs for safe and stable housing. Emergency and transitional housing remains vital, but our vision extends to creating more permanent and sustainable housing solutions for all income levels, a cornerstone for healthy communities. This includes URI's supportive housing, or URI's first supportive housing project in Harlem, a significant step you'll hear more about from our team members. URI will also continue to focus on advocacy and policy. So we know it's not only about housing, and our work takes us to advocacy and policy. A lot of our prevention initiatives, some of you know about our work. We work with about 20 to 30,000 young people in our relationship abuse prevention program, our RAP program, that focuses on healthy relationships in middle schools and in high schools. But we also have a variety of other intervention services that helps our clients heal and move forward in their lives to meet their full potential, and be better positioned to support their communities. Our hope for today's event is that it will foster learning and collaboration, fueling us with a desire to turn challenges into opportunities for innovative housing development in partnership with you, our esteemed colleagues and allies. Our work may be more vital than ever before, as the days ahead may be even more challenging for the people we work with every day. Now, our board chair, Whitaker Mack, couldn't be here today. He's attending to a medical matter. He's fine. He just had a medical matter. If you haven't met Whitaker Mack, he's this big man who loves sports. So I thought it would be very appropriate to bring his spirit into the room by quoting Michael Jordan. Some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. Others make it happen. Let's be the ones who make it happen. Sounds like a plan? All right, let's give it up. I want to thank you all for your dedication and partnership. Let's continue to build the future we envision. Now, I'd like to extend a special thanks to George and Andriazzi and the entire team from TD Bank for not only partnering with us, and George and I were talking, I can't believe we've been partnering for 21 years. So for partnering with us for 21 years and hosting this fantastic hosting us in this fantastic venue today. So George, why don't you come up here? Please give George a warm welcome.
Morning, everyone, and welcome. It's a privilege to host this discussion and to be URI's banker for the last 21 years. As Nat said, the best way to address the homeless crisis and affordable housing is to bring stakeholders and leaders together from all sectors to share information and collaborate. And at TD, we want to support you in this, and we definitely want to be part of the solution. Before we get into today's agenda, I thought it was appropriate to address our settlement with the Department of Justice and the regulators last month in regards to our anti-money laundering practices. TD Bank acknowledges and takes 100% full responsibility for our shortfalls in governance and controls. There are thousands of people across this bank right now working to fix this, and there's new leadership that is basically taking us through this. I'm proud, though, of my team and the bank and the support that I've gotten over the last 22 years that I've been with TD Bank. We've lent billions and billions of dollars to New York City, New York State, nonprofits, faith-based institutions, healthcare institutions, and we certainly remain committed to supporting our communities and agencies like URI who support and help the most vulnerable and the most in need. Just wanted to recognize some of our colleagues who are here today. When we come together with a one TD approach, our impact is measurable. Our community development and our real estate teams provide equity and extend construction loans to developers and permanent loans to developers and nonprofits for affordable housing. My team provides construction loans and permanent financing to nonprofits for shelter construction, acquisition, and renovation of shelters. My team is also the largest liquidity facility provider to HDC and to Sony May and New York State HFA. And our TD Securities remarkets all the bonds that we support. Affordable housing is also a major pillar of our foundation. This year, we've given out $7 million to 37 different agencies across our footprint, and the grants are to support independent living for the marginalized community members, especially those who experience homelessness. The window for 2025's application opens up in February, so we'll keep this group informed. And if you have any questions throughout the day, please come up and see me or anyone with a TD Shield during the break. And thank you for coming today.
Thank you, George. Thank you, TD Bank. This is a beautiful, beautiful space, and we very much appreciate it. So we'll jump to panel number 1. Our first panel will focus on URI's very first supportive housing development in Harlem for DV survivors and their pets. The project would not have been possible without the leadership of the New York City Department of Social Services, and I'm happy to invite Commissioner Molly Park to say a few words about the project and about the department's leadership in the housing sector. Before being appointed Commissioner of DSS, Commissioner Park served as the Department of Homeless Services' first Deputy Commissioner, where she oversaw rehousing, capacity development, and agency planning and operations. Prior to joining DHS, Molly spent 3 years as the Deputy Commissioner of the Development at the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, HPD, where she had primary responsibility for housing production planning, goals of the Housing New York Plan, and related pre-development work. Molly briefly left city government in 2014 to serve as the Chief Operating Officer at Settlement Housing Fund, where she expanded the affordable housing expertise by overseeing settlements development activity, as well as coordinating all operational needs of a growing not-for-profit organization. From 2010 to 2014, Molly served as HPD's Deputy Commissioner of Budget, Fiscal, and Performance Management, including oversight of one of the nation's largest Section 8 programs. A graduate of Amherst College, Molly holds a master's in public policy from the University of California, Berkeley Goldman School of Public Policy.
Good morning. Really excited to be here. I'm sorry we had to start by listing out all of my biography. That was not very interesting, but I am thrilled to be here, and I want to thank URI for putting together what I think are going to be two really insightful and thoughtful panels, and particularly for hosting a conference that I think focuses on something, an aspect of homeless services and that does not get nearly enough attention, and that's the real estate. Right? Most people and in most settings put homeless services squarely in the social services bucket, right? We, in the chain of command at City Hall, we are part of Health and Human Services. And there's many good reasons for that, but all of those services, what we deliver and our partner not-for-profits deliver every day, happens in buildings, right? It's a little bit obvious, but I think it's really important to say it. And right now we have a particularly large footprint, right? We are in 500 something buildings across the city of New York. And our approach to real estate can be good or it can be bad. And we really want it to be the best approach to real estate development that we possibly can be at the Department of Homeless Services. And we really depend on the partnership of everybody in the room to be able to continue to grow. A building that is designed with clients' and providers' needs in mind, that is well-designed, environmentally sustainable, and attractive is a better place for clients to get back on their feet, and it's better for communities as well. One of the challenges that we face all of the time, and many of you have been part of these battles with us, is the NIMBY that comes with citing a new homeless shelter. But when a building is beautiful and part of the community, that goes a very long way. Other people are gonna talk a lot more about the not-for-profit owned shelter model. So I won't get too deep into the weeds, but this is something that we at the Department of Homeless Services are really excited about, really proud of. And I see it as a win-win-win, right? So in this model, instead of a not-for-profit leasing a building from, whoever the private landlord might be, they are in fact developing and owning the building from the get-go. That means that the not-for-profit owns their own real estate, controls their own destiny. That building is an asset on their balance sheet, so it's good for the not-for-profit. These are beautiful, thoughtfully designed buildings, so they provide better client services. And from the city's perspective, because at the end of the day, I am a city bureaucrat, we are paying fixed real estate costs for 30 years, so that is a win for the city as well. So this is a model we're really excited about. We've got out of 30, 40 something of them either open or in the pipeline in various stages. Again, you're going to hear a lot more about that. These are not projects necessarily for the faint of heart. They are really complicated. I see a lot of people who've worked on them with us in the room, and I want to say thank you. One of the things that we recognized relatively early on was that a challenge with doing not-for-profit owned shelters was that although once the contract is registered, there is a really robust funding stream there. There's a lot of work that happens before that the contract is registered, before funds start to flow. So we're really excited to partner with Sea Change to be able to create an acquisition fund that will help not-for-profits manage those pre-development costs. Speaking of things that were not for the faint of heart, it took us a very long time to get there, but we are here, we are open for business. Really want to encourage all of you to participate. URI has been a terrific partner in the not-for-profit owned shelter space. They have done a number of really innovative projects and have more in the pipeline, and we're excited to keep working with them. but I think there's more to do with everybody here. We've done a lot to replace substandard real estate, but there's more to do. We have aging shelters that are not good for clients, that are expensive to operate and maintain. And particularly over the last several years, our hotel footprint has grown very substantially. DHS alone is in close to 20% of the hotel rooms in New York City, which is a staggering number. It's going to take us time to replace that with good high quality shelter, but we can do it, and I believe with everybody working together in this room that we can do that. So I'm looking forward to future partnership, to seeing when we put our heads together, how we can continue to build and expand on the important not-for-profit shelter-owned model, and how we can combine that with affordable housing, and because while I'm talking a lot about the need for good shelter, and I believe in the need for good shelter, at the end of the day, the goal is always for permanent housing. So, and we've got projects that combine the two. So I think there's a lot of work that we can do together, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.